Jeep Gladiator bumper replacement comes at a cost. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you today? And that's right, if you're looking to replace your Jeep Gladiator bumper, it does come at a cost. And I'm not talking about the cash you get to outlay when you buy it. I'm talking about some other things that you may experience because of changing out your bumper. Now, what I've got here is the three-piece Rubicon style steel bumper with the hook added across the top. Of course, I customized the tow hooks, painted them this lovely green to kind of go along with the goby color. But this is basically what you get, and it even comes with the extra extensions off the sides, which of course I've removed. But what do I mean by it comes with a cost? Well, first of all, if you go with the stubby bumper, you're going to have to remove these closeout pieces here, right? You know, if you look at the front of your Jeep and you don't have a Rubicon style bumper, you probably have these little blockers here, these little closeout panels. Obviously, there's no bumper here to attach them to, so mine are removed. That, of course, is going to change the aerodynamics of the truck, right? I mean, before, the air would just kind of flow over these, right? Either up or down or whatever. But now it flows right into the wheel well, into the tire area you can see there. And then, of course, around and on down and exits underneath or behind the tire, right? So what does that mean? Well, you might get a little bit more buffeting actually when you drive in the truck. That could affect your steering a little bit in high winds, right? Because you're going to have more air flowing around that tire and kind of buffeting on the tire a little bit. Nothing extreme, but if you're very sensitive to that kind of thing, you might actually feel that a little bit. Also, you might get a little bit more noise. You know, obviously you've got the wind blowing around in that area and you're going to create a little bit more sound because there are obviously more things to hit, right? You've got the coil under there, all the wires and things and tubing and all that good stuff. And if you're really unlucky, you might even get something that sticks out a bit and gives you a little bit of a whistle. Just something to be aware of. Next is the weight. You know, the original bumper, which, by the way, I happen to have still in the box back here. There you can see it kind of resting comfortably in there. But the original bumper is quite a bit lighter than this steel bumper. I mean, obviously, this is a full one-piece steel bumper, right? Probably, I'd guess, somewhere around the 50-pound mark, maybe a little bit more. Maybe closer to 70, actually, for the weight of this bumper. Now, obviously, in putting that on, you're going to increase the weight of the Jeep. You're going to kind of pull down the front a little bit because you're putting more weight on the suspension. Might not be a big deal, but if you're, again, sensitive to the stance of your Jeep and the way that it sits, you might actually lose a little bit of the gapping between the tire and the fender there. Again, not a real big deal, but just something to kind of be aware of. Next up is water. Again, in putting this on, I did remove the closeouts that were on the front, right? They're gone, they're no longer here, so any water that you're gonna go through coming at the front of the Jeep is gonna end up back in this area. Now, that shouldn't be a big deal, but one thing you need to be concerned with, back here in the back, of course, if you can see the wiring back there, you have your fog lights. It's gonna get wet. You know, before there was a cover across the back here that kind of protected that area. And then obviously the closeouts there that would keep a lot of the water from getting back behind the bumper here and impacting the fog lights. Now, it shouldn't be a big deal because hopefully in doing the install, you got all the wires put back together right, and they are designed to be outside in the elements. But it's possible that you could get some sort of leakage contaminating or shorting out, if you will, that connection between the fog light and the battery. Just something to be aware of. If you go with a bumper like this and you experience fog light problems, that'd be the first place that I'd check. Next up, getting back to the steel part of this bumper, of course, is rust. You know, the OEM bumper is covered. It's covered with vinyl or rubber or whatever. This is not. It is steel. And it does have steel hardware in it, as well as some welds if you go with the bar across the front. And you just have to be aware that if you don't have a good seal or a good paint on your bumper, or maybe you ding it with something, I mean, let's face it, rocks and things are going to fly up and are going to hit this bumper, and you could get little voids in the paint. And obviously, being steel, it's going to rust. You know, I had something recently myself. This is more so due to the install, in that I was getting rust inside the screws, the bolts here. And then I also had a little bit of rust on the other side on the bracket here in the back that I actually touched up. So you just kind of have to pay attention and make sure that you keep up on the maintenance with it, and that you protect it should you get any scratches or chips or anything like that from rocks hitting this bumper. Just adds a little bit of maintenance and things that you kind of have to watch out for and take care of as they occur. The last thing you want, have you ever seen that stain from rust getting wet and then running down and drying on your bumper? Looks terrible, and frankly, it's pretty difficult to get off sometimes. Next up, and this is the fifth point, I guess, is protection. Again, kind of talking sort of a little bit about the same thing as water, but you're opening up the whole side area on both sides because you've taken out this closeout, right? You also remove the little guard underneath here. I mean, you can see I don't have that guard underneath anymore because it was attached to the OEM bumper. There's really no good way to attach it with this aftermarket stubby. Now, I do think there's some kind of an aftermarket skid plate or something that you can get for the front, but that just adds more cost and, in essence, more work to the job, right? So you're going to get things that are going to fly in, maybe damage something in here. I mean, you can see the brake lines down there. A big enough rock could actually take those out. If you're a big-time off-roader, you could throw something up in there that would be a problem. You're probably going to get more mud and stuff in there too that normally would have been stopped by this closeout, at least from flinging off the tire, right? Now there's nothing there. You're going to get some mud up here on the top and maybe even a little bit on the sides because it's not being thrown off and collected, if you will, on this closeout. Back here in the back, I already mentioned, you're going to have a bigger opportunity for things to get caked in here behind the bumper, mud and stuff like that, because there is no cover on the back of this. Unless you go with an OEM style, I do think those come with some sort of a cover, but nothing like that for the knockoff version. Lastly, I wanted to mention warranty. You know, the big thing out there whenever you do any kind of a mod is warranty. And the rule is that you're not going to be covered if you do some sort of a mod that is directly causes the failure of an otherwise warranted part. Well, that opens up a big can of worms, I suppose, when you do something like a Stubby Bumper Aftermarket Edition, right? I mean, you've taken off these closeouts, so obviously things can get back in there, cause a failure somewhere. Your fog lights could fail if you don't protect the wiring properly. You're going to throw other things underneath the truck because there's no guard there anymore. And, you know, a dealer who is trying to get out of doing any warranty work for you would probably have a good argument should you have any damage in any of those areas that would normally be protected by the OEM setup. You might have a problem with this bumper. So something else to consider if you're thinking about changing yours out, either with this knockoff version or even if you go with an OEM version, unless, of course, you have it installed at the dealership. In that case, you probably shouldn't have to worry. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about those few things a little bit. Just some things to be concerned about, I guess. You know, these additions or mods do come with a cost, right? And adding this aftermarket bumper does have a cost beyond, obviously, just the cash outlay that you have to come up with to put this thing on. Anyway, leave a comment, let me know. Are you guys concerned about stuff like this? Did you ever think about it? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, if you're interested, check out my other channel. It is Rob Motive, all about my 2020 Toyota Tacoma back here. Don't forget to click that notification button so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.